as they want on political ads, movies, you pick it, threatening to overwhelm the election process with directly spent corporate money, and you'll never even know it because they'll call it Americans for America, and then they'll just put up their little ad. Some legislators reportedly working on fixes for this, including either bans on political ads by corporations that hire lobbyists or bans on corporations that take government money. Other options include forcing shareholders of corporations to sign off on political spending. I suspect they'd sign off because it's such a high return, pennies to Washington, create billions in loopholes, or make CEOs appear in ads that approve their content. So you basically out them. At least you have some transparency in this process. Right now, they'll be able to give unrestricted with absolutely no transparency. They'll call the organization, like I said, Americans for America, and then just give you their message. Anyway, joining us now, Ellen Miller, founder and executive director of the Sunlight Foundation, a nonprofit group advocating transparency in government. And it is a delight to have you here. We look at the numbers from 09. 09 was about as good as it gets for lobbying from what I saw. $344 million rolling in for financial services. They managed to get absolutely no financial reform passed, which is a home run, most profitable year in the history of Wall Street. That, my friend, is a high five. The drug companies, same thing. I can go down the list. If 09 was a banner year for special interests, what does this bode for an election year with this kind of a Supreme Court ruling? And can they outdo themselves in 09 to just take the whole place over?
Well, there's no question that the money we've seen spent in elections and in lobbying in any of the past election cycles and in any of the past years will be sort of swept away in terms of records. I mean, what the Supreme Court did yesterday was to really lift any limits on corporate spending in elections. And I think what the court also did yesterday, which I think is really important to understand, is to give us a little bit of a silver lining in the sense that they said that transparency for spending on contributions and elections needs to go online and needs to be, you know, in real time, what we would say in real time. So, and I think while that, we don't want to be foolish and say that will solve the problem they created. It certainly won't. It will give the American people a handle on what's happening in real time, and I think that's the first place to go in trying to develop proposals that run counter and deal with what the Supreme Court did.
Sure, because I think the biggest anxiety is not just that there'll be this incredible cascade of cash, but it'll be as it has been for years now. Again, I could look at the last decade as the decade of the lobbyists, the decade of the special interest in this country. As we turn into a new decade, are we at least going to get some transparency? So instead of hiding all the money flying in behind lies and patriotically named organizations that are meaningless, will we at least be able to see, listen, the Anheuser-Busch wants this, the coal companies want that, the labor union. If we just knew which special interest was lobbying for which rule, I in the press and others in the press could cover it, you could disclose it to your voters, and we could all make decisions. But to let them spend an unlimited amount of money and then hide it from everybody borders on comical.
Yeah, I think, but we have to understand two things. One is that disclosure in the 21st century means that it's online disclosure. So we have to redefine what disclosure means, what instant transparency means, and frankly, with all of the tools and the technology we have available, reporting who's lobbying whom and how much they're spending, or daily contributions that are made, it's as easy as, you know, creating a text message on your BlackBerry or your iPhone. So we have to redefine what transparency means, and we have to say it doesn't just apply to this new arena of corporate spending. It really ought to apply to the entire range of the political spectrum. So we know what candidates are doing on a daily basis. We know what the expenditures are. We know what PACs are doing. It's the entire electoral system and the huge amounts of spending and the lobbying system as well. We need full and complete disclosure. Again, it's not a solution to the problem of big money politics, but it takes us down that first step that we have to move immediately.
It's the same way the banks were hiding risk, or Enron back in the end was hiding its risks. If the special interest, whether it's a union or a bank or a healthcare company or a coal company, is hiding the money, then it's impossible for the free press to do its job, and it's impossible for a voter to be a vigilant voter or a vigilant consumer, because the government's enabled not only the cascade of money, but hiding the cascade of money because it serves their interests and nobody else's.
Yeah, and you touch on another point, which is it's one thing if we can get this real-time online disclosure, but then citizens have to engage with this information.
Sure.
We don't just put it out, for the academic sector or just for the press. I mean, in today's world, the internet means that we can spread this information far and wide, and people can engage with it. They can ask questions of their lawmakers. They can demand answers from the lawmakers. You took this much money from the banks, and you won't vote for financial regulatory reform. That's the kind of dialogue. But there really are two ends of this. One is getting the information available in real time, and the other is getting citizens to engage with the information, to ask lawmakers and public officials what's going on here.
Here's how I look at it. We used to have slaves. Women didn't used to be able to vote. My bet is we can actually get real-time disclosure of money going to Washington, D.C. Maybe I'm crazy, but I think we're going to pull this off, Ellen.
Well, I hope so.
All right. Thank you for giving us a little bit of your time. Ellen Miller from the Sunlight Foundation.